Hey guys, it's the Red Shadow here, and I'm back with another recent gaming video because I managed to knock out a really tiny little short miniature video game this evening, and so I was going to talk about it really quick. And that game was actually a Minisode from the To the Moon game that I'm very, very fond of. This is the second official To the Moon Minisode. In addition to the Bird Story game that was out late last year. This was, like I said, very short. I'd say maybe 30 minutes, and it was over. And there was probably even less to actually do in this one than the last one and the holiday one. This one really seemed to be laying the groundwork more for future installments of the actual game. Because like in the first minisode, there was more gameplay, especially when you consider the little in-game video game that was created by Dr. Neil Watts that was sort of like a condensation of the To the Moon story in a simplified video game. And it seemed like maybe there was just more interaction between the characters, and but it was like laying the framework for who these people were and what they did and what their jobs were. Now this one seemed to be pushing forward into the future of the series, but it was more dialogue, walking around a few times, really very little in the way of puzzles or anything like that. But it did have some pretty heady stuff. At the end of To the Moon, I think I mentioned it in my Red Shadow's Favorite Games installment that covered To the Moon. Near the end of it, there was a moment when the picture dimmed a little bit, and it kind of came off like that Dr. Watts and Dr. Rosaline were inside somebody else's mind, even though it appeared that it was the real world. And it was a head-scratcher. It was kind of like, what is this all about? What is this suggesting? And then in this game, there was a moment when Dr. Watts is all alone in his office after everybody else has left for a holiday, and he has one of the memory machines that they use when they go into people's minds to, grant that last requested wish, and he's putting it on even though there's nobody else there. But then Eva's driving away, and she happens to see an image of what I took to be her walking in front of her while she's in her car. And she's stunned for a moment, but then it's gone, and the moment passes and she leaves. But she comes back later, and then Neil is upset because whatever he was doing with that thing, it was important to him. And he was interrupted. Power goes out and all that. And then later on in the game, there's a moment when Eva's talking to someone, and it fades out, and all of a sudden you see what looks like a room with her in it, and she's got the thing on with nobody else there. But it was hard to tell if she was in the patient role or in the doctor role. Dr. Neil, he looked like he was in the doctor role going into something, even though it wasn't hooked up to somebody. Anyway, like I said, it left more questions than anything else, and that seemed to be the point of this particular minisode. And so I'm hoping now that Bird Story came out a few months ago, and then this is out, maybe sometime this year, we're going to get the next installment, which off the top of my head I can't remember what it's supposed to be called, but Forever something. Well, I'm eagerly awaiting it. These little games are, well, this particular minisode was just free. It is available free, I think, even regardless of whether or not you own the main game. But they're really bite-sized portions. They're teasers. They're hors d'oeuvres or appetizers, so to speak, to prepare us, I think, for the next game, which I'm looking forward to very, very much. And that's really all I wanted to say. This was, if you've played To the Moon, you got to play this. You got to play all the FreeBird Games games that they've put out. You got to check them all out because they're really thought-provoking, and like To the Moon is just heart-rending story. And I'm not sure that I could even try to expect the next game to live up to that, to to be the tearjerker, the emotional and sentimental game that the first one was. But I'm really interested in seeing what's going on. I thought of a parallel earlier. I was like, everything up to this little minisode has still made it feel like the game, the series is all centered on the stories of the people who they go in and change the memories of. To the Moon still felt like Johnny and River's story, and not Neil and Eva, the two doctors. But now this extra little stuff has come up, and now it's starting to make it look... It makes it feel like, to me, like the X-Files. Because I've always said that the X-Files for me was not about the aliens and the supernatural and all that. It was about Mulder and Scully and their relationship and the adventures that they go on because of their job and because of his mission in life and all that kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden this series, this To the Moon series, is starting to feel like the adventures of Dr. Neil and Dr. Eva, as opposed to Johnny and River or the kid from Bird Story. And I guess I can get into that. I like that, and that's the point of this little mini-sode, and that was the point I just wanted to make. This felt like a modern video game reboot of the X-Files. To heck with the X-Files reboot that they're talking about. No, not actually. I want to see it, but we kind of have our own little version of it in a video game form, and that's pretty awesome. So anyway, that's that. I'm looking forward to whatever FreeBird Games puts out in the future. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later, because I'm ready. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.